Good afternoon. I'm Karen Cassidy, Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Finance and Treasurer for the City of New York. I represent the New York City Commissioner of Finance on the Banking Commission. I would like to start by introducing the other members of the Banking Commission. Mayor de Blasio's representative, Deputy Mayor for Operations, Laura Engel, and Comptroller Stringer's representative, Assistant Comptroller for Economic Development, Brian Cook. The purpose of today's meeting, dated May 24, 2019, is for the Banking Commission to approve the 2019 designation of banks as official depositories of the City of New York, more commonly known as the New York City Depository Banks. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the rules of the Open Meetings Law. This means that members of the public have the right to attend, listen, and observe these proceedings, but they are not authorized to speak during this meeting. With that in mind, we would like to welcome the members of the public who have joined us today, and thank you for your cooperation. We will begin the meeting with the roll call. Laura Anglin, Mayor, Deputy Mayor for Operations.
Present.
Brian Cook, Comptroller, Assistant Comptroller for Economic Development.
Present.
Karen Cassidy, Department of Finance, Assistant Commissioner and Treasurer. Present. We have a quorum, and we can now conduct the business of the meeting. Acceptance of May 9, 2019 minutes. The first agenda item is the acceptance of the minutes of May 9, 2019 Banking Commission meeting, when the Commission's fiscal year 2020 interest rate recommendations to the City Council were approved. The draft minutes of this Banking Commission meeting were previously distributed to the Banking Commission members for review. If there are no comments or correction to these minutes, may I please have a motion to accept the minutes of May 9, 2019 meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 2019 designation of New York City Depository Banks. The next item on the agenda is the designation of banks that are permitted to hold city funds. Pursuant to Section 1524 of the New York City Charter, the Banking Commission shall designate banks in which all monies of the City of New York shall be deposited. The Banking Commission has promulgated rules contained in Title 22 of the Rules of the City of New York, RCNY, which set forth the requirements for designation of depository banks. In accordance with Title 22 RCNY, the following proposed resolution is for the Commission's approval to designate the following banks as New York City depository banks for a 2-year period commencing May 24, 2019. Resolution number 1, 2019 approval of 29 New York City depository banks. Whereas, pursuant to Section 1524 of the New York City Charter, the Banking Commission is responsible for designating banks that are permitted to hold city funds. And whereas, pursuant to Title 22 of the Rules of the City of New York, Section 1-03B, the term of a designation shall be for a period of no longer than 2 years, unless the Banking Commission by majority vote extends such designation period. And whereas the following 29 banks have submitted the required documents and meet the requirements to become a New York City depository bank. Amalgamated Bank, Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon, Bank OZK, formerly Bank of the Ozarks, Bank United, Capital One Bank, Citibank, Connect One Bank, East West Bank, Flushing Bank, Habib American Bank, HSBC Bank, International Finance Bank, Israel Discount Bank, JP Morgan Chase, Mitsubishi UFG Financial Group MUFG Union Bank, Modern Bank, MT Bank, People's United Bank, PNC Bank, Popular Bank, Santander Bank, Signature Bank, Spring Bank, State Street Bank, Sterling National Bank, Toronto Dominion TD Bank, US Bank, Victoria State Bank. Therefore, be it resolved, the Banking Commission hereby approves the designation of these 29 banks as New York City depository banks for a 2-year period. Are there any questions or discussions on the resolution to approve for designation of these 29 banks?
No.
If not, may I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Can someone please second the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Conditional designation of Wells Fargo as a New York City depository bank. The next agenda item is the conditional designation of Wells Fargo as a New York City depository bank. Pursuant to Title 22, RCNY, Section 1-03E1, no bank shall be designated or shall remain designated as a depository bank unless it maintains a minimum New York State Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, rating of 2, or its equivalent as determined by the New York State Department of Financial Services, and a minimum federal CRA rating of satisfactory, or its equivalent, as determined by the appropriate federal regulator. In May of 2017, Wells Fargo submitted an application for the designation for the 2017 designation cycle. In connection with the review of Wells Fargo's 2017 designation application, New York City Banking Commission staff reviewed Wells Fargo's federal and New York State examination reports and CRA ratings, and found that the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC, issued the bank a federal CRA rating of needs to improve. At that time, Wells Fargo's federal CRA rating of needs to improve did not meet the requirements of the minimum federal CRA rating of satisfactory or its equivalent. However, Title 22 RCNY 1-03F1 authorizes the Banking Commission to designate as a city depository a bank that does not meet the requirements for designation of city monies where, in its discretion, the deposit of such monies in such bank is necessary to obtain essential services that are not reasonably obtained elsewhere. It was due to this reasoning that the Banking Commission exercised its discretion on its May 31st, 2017 meeting, pursuant to this provision known as the necessity exception, to conditionally designate Wells Fargo Bank for a period ending May 2019. Excuse me. The Banking Commission exercised its discretion at that time to conditionally designate Wells Fargo because the bank was heavily embedded in the architecture and finances of the city of New York. Prior to Wells Fargo conditional designation in May 2017, the New York City Department of Finance had existing contracts with Wells Fargo for depository bank services related to processing and collection of New York City tax revenues and cash disbursements. Under these existing contracts, the city annually processed in excess of 6.7 million individual transactions, with the cash collections in excess of $27 million. These transactions included 3.4 million annual real estate tax transactions with a total revenue flow of over $20 billion. 4.3 billion in business and excise tax revenue, 1.8 million in parking summonses transactions, generating approximately 119 million in revenue, and 1.5 million transactions with a dollar value of 2.8 billion in business center receipts for the Department of Finance and multiple other city agencies. These contracts also included the Department of Finance website hosting and maintenance, armed carriers, merchant processing for credit cards, payments, business center deposit receipts, deposit bags, slips, etc., and check printing and mailing. As of May 26, 2017, Wells Fargo had 99 bank accounts with 227.7 million in city deposits supporting critically city services administered by multiple city agencies. All Wells Fargo deposits were fully collateralized by government-guaranteed securities in amounts over and above FDIC insurance, as required by Section 10 of the New York City State General Municipal Law. There were only a limited number of banks that had the capability to handle the volume of transactions and the dollar amounts that flowed through the New York City Central Treasury. It would have been extremely disruptive to the revenue collection function and cash flow of the City of New York if the Department of Finance were suddenly unable to use the depository services of Wells Fargo. Excuse me. It has taken some time to extricate and replace the infrastructure with alternative solutions, vendors, and banks. The Banking Commission is again exercising its discretion to conditionally designate Wells Fargo because the bank has 4 remaining contracts with the Department of Finance and the City of New York for depository bank services related to processing and collection of New York City tax revenues and cash disbursements. These contracts include lockboxes for city agencies and over $4.3 billion of business and excise tax revenue processing. The contracts mature in June 2019, September 2019, and June 2020. In the past 2 years, the Department of Finance has exited 6 layered and multifaceted contracts with Wells Fargo, representing 80% of the business the bank had with New York City. These contracts were replaced utilizing vendors and other designated banks. As of April 30, 2019, Wells Fargo has 25 bank accounts, with city deposits supporting critically city services administered by multiple city agencies, totaling $16.5 million, or a 93% reduction since May of 2017. Given the critical and essential nature of the services remaining that are provided by Wells Fargo to the Department of Finance and the City of New York, there would be an immediate disruption to the cash flow of the city if the Banking Commission did not act under the necessity exception to conditionally designate Wells Fargo until these remaining contracts expire. As a result, the Banking Commission is invoking its discretion under Title 22 to conditionally designate Wells Fargo as a New York City depository bank. Upon expiration of the final remaining contract, if Wells Fargo has not achieved at least a satisfactory federal CRA rating, the Banking Commission will reconvene to de-designate Wells Fargo. These conditional designations subjects the bank to specific conditions, including the inability to renew current contracts after they expire. No other banking agreements, aside from those specifically enumerated on Exhibit A attached to this resolution, for banking services or bank accounts with the City of New York shall be permitted, and no currently effective agreement between Wells Fargo Bank and the city shall be renewed or extended unless Wells Fargo Bank meets all the designation requirements under Title 22 and is then designated by the Banking Commission. If at any time Wells Fargo receives a federal CRA rating of at least satisfactory, the Banking Commission has the authority to consider its application for designation at any time. Are there any questions or discussion in the following resolution to invoke necessity exception to conditionally approve Wells Fargo's designation?
No.
If not, I will proceed. Resolution number 2, conditional designation of Wells Fargo as a designated bank. Whereas pursuant to 1524 of the New York City Charter, the Banking Commission is responsible for designating banks that are committed to hold city funds. And whereas pursuant to Title 22, RCNY 1-03E1-2i, a New York City depository bank must maintain a minimum state CRA rating of 2, or its equivalent as determined by the New York City Banking Department, and a minimum federal CRA rating of satisfactory, or its equivalent as determined by the appropriate federal regulator. And whereas the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, Wells Fargo's federal regulator, issued the bank a CRA rating of needs to improve, and whereas Wells Fargo's federal rating of needs to improve does not meet the minimum federal CRA rating of satisfactory or its equivalent, and whereas the Banking Commission is authorized to designate as a city depository bank that does not meet the requirements for a designation where the deposit of city monies in such bank is necessary to obtain essential services that are not reasonably obtained elsewhere, and whereas it would be extremely disruptive to the tax and other revenue collection function and cash flow of the City of the Department of Finance, were suddenly unable to use the depository services of Wells Fargo for the annual processing of millions of transactions and billions of dollars of city funds. Therefore, be it resolved, the Banking Commission hereby approves Wells Fargo as a depository bank under the necessity exception. May I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Can someone please second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Popular Banking Development District, BDD deposit. The next agenda item is a request by Popular Bank for a 10 million city BDD deposit at the bank's East Tremont BDD branch, located at 641 East Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. This is the Popular Bank's second BDD branch approved by the New York State Department of Financial Services. At the bank's request, the state of New York recently made a below-market rate of 10 million BDD deposit at this branch on November 8, 2018. The Commission recommends that the City of New York make a 10 million deposit at Popular Bank East Tremont BDD branch. Resolution, Popular Bank BDD deposit. Whereas Popular Bank has requested that the City of New York make a 10 million deposit at its East Tremont BDD branch located at 641 East Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. Therefore be it resolved, the Banking Commission approves a 10 million city BDD deposit at Popular Bank East Tremont BDD branch. May I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
May I please have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Other items. Does anyone have any additional items to discuss before we adjourn? Having completed the business of this meeting, can someone please make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I please have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The Banking Commission meeting is adjourned.